They said it would never happen. A matchup so unexpected, so wildly out of the ordinary, that it sounded more like a barbershop argument than a sanctioned fight. But here it is, on the edge of reality and madness. Mike Tyson, the ferocious king of heavyweight chaos, standing across from Lerone Murphy, the undefeated British striker with a heart carved from concrete and an origin story that defies belief. No weight class, no traditional rules, just raw instinct and legacy on the line. There's something unnerving about watching two worlds collide like this. Tyson, the man whose fists turned dreams into nightmares in the blink of an eye, represents a different breed of combat. A time when violence in the ring wasn't just allowed, it was celebrated. When he walked into the arena, fear arrived first. Opponents lost before the first bell. Tyson was more than a boxer. He was an event, an energy. And now, that energy finds itself facing the unshakable calm of a man who's never tasted defeat. Lerone Murphy, the miracle of Manchester. Murphy's journey isn't one born in gyms or silver spoon academies. He's not a product of hype. He was shot in the face, left for dead, and still came back not just to survive, but to thrive. With every fight, he carries that pain in his fists, in his footwork, in the quiet confidence he exudes when the lights go up. He doesn't speak much, but when the cage door closes, his silence becomes symphonic. There's precision in his violence, method in his movement. Where Tyson was chaos, Murphy is control. But when the gloves come off, literally and figuratively, what matters more? The fire that can't be tamed, or the storm that never flinches? What makes this fight more than just fantasy is timing. Tyson is no longer the 20-year-old phenom tearing through the heavyweight ranks. He's older, yes, but he's not soft. He's leaned into discipline like never before, carrying a different kind of fury. One that's refined, restrained, and scarier in its silence. In recent years, he's shown flashes of that old menace, like a sleeping lion whose growl still echoes. And make no mistake, Tyson doesn't enter anything halfway. If he steps in, he steps through. But what happens when the raw power of the past meets the unshakable calm of the present? Murphy's undefeated streak isn't an accident. He's not flashy. He doesn't chase headlines or viral moments. But the moment you underestimate him is the moment your lights go out. His timing, his reads, his ability to flow in chaos. It's all textbook. He doesn't need to roar to be dangerous. He's a sniper in a room full of brawlers. And that patience, that poise, it might be his deadliest weapon. But can it handle the storm that is Tyson when the switch flips? There's also the unspoken narrative bubbling under the surface. The generational tension. Tyson represents an era where brute force ruled and technique came second. Murphy is part of a generation raised on mixed discipline, cerebral combat, and split-second adjustments. In many ways, this is more than a fight. It's a challenge to history itself. Can experience and instincts still overpower evolution? Or will the calm precision of today's warrior expose the cracks in yesterday's legend? The setting itself feels surreal. Under the bright, humming lights, two men with opposite energies pace like predators in different jungles. Tyson's gaze is heavy, unblinking, like he's already decided how this ends. Murphy doesn't blink either, but his stillness isn't intimidation. It's clarity. He sees everything. The crowd, the opponent, the pressure. And he absorbs it all like a vacuum before releasing it in surgical bursts. Every second ticks like a countdown to something explosive. As the cameras circle them, capturing every twitch, every breath, fans can't help but lean forward. This isn't about weight classes or age. It's about pride. It's about what happens when an unshakable object finally meets an unstoppable force. Not in theory, in reality. Tyson may have the name, the aura, the legend, but legends still bleed. And Murphy? He knows all about pain. He's lived it, walked through it, used it as fuel. Whispers in the locker rooms say Tyson's been moving different, quieter, sharper. Not for show, not for hype, but for something real. Like he knows this isn't a spectacle. It's personal. Maybe it's the ghosts he's trying to silence. Maybe it's about proving to himself that the beast isn't dead. It's just waiting. But whatever's behind that stare, it's not nostalgia. It's a warning. And Murphy's team? They've seen the tape. They know Tyson's reach, his timing, that unpredictability. But they're not backing down. You don't survive what Lerone survived only to fear someone else's myth. He's been close to death. Tyson? He's just another man. A dangerous man, yes, but still human. And if there's one thing Murphy has proven, it's that when you're unshakable, legends crumble. But here's the twist no one saw coming. Rules have shifted. Word is, the bout may not follow traditional boxing or MMA formats. There's talk of hybrid rules, of an open arena where styles can clash freely. No hiding. No dancing. Just raw expression of violence. Tyson thrives in that chaos. But so does Murphy. Just differently. He doesn't brawl. He calculates. So what happens when one man brings a hammer and the other brings a scalpel? As the crowd roars and the lights dim to that tense hush before eruption, something changes. Tyson paces slower now. Not tired, focused. Murphy doesn't flinch as he stares back. Somewhere in the middle of this electric silence, an invisible thread pulls tighter between them. The ring may separate them, but their minds are already locked in battle. No one breathes. No one speaks. It's not just a fight anymore. It's a moment in history preparing to carve itself into stone. But just before the bell rings, something shifts. A strange flicker in Tyson's eyes. A movement from Murphy's corner. The crowd surges as something unexpected unfolds. And just like that, everything we thought we knew is thrown into question. A low murmur ripples through the crowd as a shadow stirs near Murphy's corner. At first, it seems like nothing. An ordinary movement. Maybe someone adjusting a camera angle or repositioning equipment. But then a figure steps forward, unfamiliar, cloaked in a hoodie that doesn't bear the colors of Murphy's usual team. The commission officials glance at each other, visibly puzzled. Tyson, who would have been pacing like a predator ready to launch, suddenly stops. His eyes lock on the figure. There's a flicker, not of fear, but of recognition. Something unspoken passes between them, and then Murphy turns his head, just slightly, as if sensing the ripple of energy that just changed the air in the room. Seconds later, an official walks over to the referee, whispering something with urgency. The referee's expression shifts. He raises a hand, not to start the fight, but to pause it. Confusion spreads like wildfire. Cameras scramble. The commentators, caught between professionalism and panic, fumble to explain what's unfolding without any real clarity. And just as quickly as it began, the match is suspended. Temporarily. Tyson steps back, breathing heavier now. Not from exertion, but from something deeper. A memory, maybe. A name. A past that was supposed to stay buried. Meanwhile, Murphy walks to his corner, with a different kind of stillness. He's not rattled, but he's no longer just focused on Tyson. His coach leans in, whispering furiously, and for the first time all night, Lerone's expression shifts. A trace of uncertainty glances across his eyes. Whatever's happening, it's not part of the plan. That mysterious figure? Turns out he wasn't part of either corner. Security surrounds him, but no one dares remove him. He flashes a credential, one that no one recognizes, but no one questions either. It's enough to buy him time. Enough to shift the mood. Tyson's longtime trainer is seen shaking his head near the monitors, clearly unhappy. Not with Tyson, but with whatever presence just hijacked the rhythm of this fight. The energy in the room is no longer about a classic brawl. It's spiraling into something much larger. Backstage, whispers start to leak. Apparently, just hours before the fight, a document was filed. A last-minute clause added to the match terms. One that neither fighter agreed to but now must face. A live, sudden rule variation. Clause voted in by the event's private sponsors. A wild card twist. They call it the switch. At any point during the fight, the rule format could be altered without warning. Boxing could turn to MMA. MMA could slide into bare knuckle. The ring might shrink. The timer might vanish. And both fighters are expected to adapt. Immediately. The revelation hits hard. Tyson's team erupts. Murphy's side stays eerily quiet. Maybe they were ticked off. Maybe they weren't. But either way, the tension is now nuclear. Tyson, whose style thrives on rhythm and prediction, now faces a battlefield that refuses to stay still. And Murphy, the chess player, must prepare for a game where the board flips without notice. What was once a test of power and precision has become a high-stakes game of survival. But even that's not the full twist. Footage begins to circulate from earlier in the evening. Grainy clips from a private training room, where Murphy was reportedly seen sparring not with his usual partners, but with a retired grappler known for his brutal ground game. It doesn't make sense. Until now. Suddenly, everything feels intentional. Was Murphy preparing for more than just Tyson's fists? Did he know the format could change? Or was this a setup planted by forces outside either camp? Tyson's demeanor hardens. He doesn't speak, but the twitch in his jaw, the tightening of his gloves. He's aware now that this isn't just a fight. It's a test. Not just of his body, but of his legacy. If the rules are shifting beneath his feet, he must evolve in real time. The world is watching not to see if he can punch. They're watching to see if the warrior can outlast the chaos. And Murphy? He adjusts his mouthpiece, exhales once, and leans against the ropes with a look that's both calm and calculating. He thrives in disorder. But even for him, this isn't standard. Now the question isn't whether he can outstrike Tyson. It's whether he can outthink the system itself. Suddenly, the lights flicker, on purpose this time. A siren blares. A voice over the intercom echoes through the arena. Phase 1 complete. New format. Hybrid rules. Striking and grappling both legal. Round resets in 90 seconds. Just like that, everything changes. The bell rings. Not to start a normal round, but to mark the beginning of something no one trained for. Tyson moves first. Not with his usual burst, but with a cautious approach, shoulders high, stance tight. Murphy circles, not dancing, but scanning, looking for gaps, for rhythm, for hesitation. The first exchange is electric. Tyson throws a thunderous left. Murphy slips just barely, then counters with a low kick, something Tyson hasn't absorbed in decades. His leg shakes slightly, but instead of retreating, he smiles. It's not joy. It's a dare. And that's when Murphy shoots for a clinch. Not to wrestle, yet, but to send a message. If Tyson's coming to this arena, he's going to feel every angle of it. The ref lets it go. The crowd loses its mind. Grappling against Tyson? Madness. Or strategy. They break. Tyson's expression is different now. He's not annoyed. He's awake. His feet start moving with more intent, more bounce, and for a split second, we see it, that old flicker in his eyes, the one that came before the storm. But before either can capitalize, the lights shift again. A new voice echoes across the speakers. Final phase incoming. Full rule unlock in effect. Both corners freeze. Tyson turns his head slowly. Murphy's breathing picks up. No one saw this coming. Metal groans as the cage lowers, locking into place with a final bone-rattling clank that echoes through the arena like a closing vault. The atmosphere mutates instantly. What was once a grand arena now feels like a trap, like a storm cell where survival takes precedence over spectacle. No exits. No resets. Just two men, stripped of every excuse, locked in a structure that demands everything. Tyson's hands drop ever so slightly, not out of fatigue, but recalibration. His eyes narrow. Whatever confusion or disbelief he might have felt earlier has vanished. What remains is a quiet acknowledgement. This is war, and if it's ending here, it's ending on his terms. Murphy doesn't blink. He plants his feet, shoulders square, face unreadable. In the chaos of shifting formats and secret clauses, he'd never lost the thread. He wasn't just prepared for this. He was expecting it. His team's silence earlier, the odd sparring partner, it was all part of something larger. But even with the preparation, nothing replaces the unpredictability of a man like Tyson, especially not one with nothing left to prove, except to himself. They meet in the center, with no referee interference now. The new ruled structure is clear. No stoppages unless someone goes out or taps out. The crowd leans in. The world outside seems to go quiet. Tyson strikes first, a wicked hook that whistles past Murphy's temple with terrifying velocity. Murphy counters with a short elbow, then transitions to a knee that lands flush against Tyson's ribs. The sound it makes is dull and deep, but Tyson doesn't retreat. There's something in Murphy's eyes too. Respect. Defiance. Maybe both. They've both given everything. And now here they are, locked in a pause that sets more than 1,000 punches. And then, without warning, Murphy smiles. Just barely. A silent dare. Tyson postures up, fists clenched, and then steps back. He lets Murphy up. Gasps ripple through the crowd. The ref, unsure whether to intervene, hesitates. But Tyson has made his choice. He's not here to outgrapple. He's here to finish the way he began, with fists. Murphy rises, battered, bleeding, ready. They square off again. And this time, the fight doesn't slow. It escalates into something primal. Punches that feel personal. Feints that bait legacies. Neither man backs down. But it's Murphy who sees the opening first. A slip in Tyson's footing as he pivots left. In one clean motion, Murphy steps in with a spinning elbow that lands flush on Tyson's jaw. The moment hangs in the air. Tyson stumbles, knees buckling. The crowd rises in a tidal wave of noise. But Tyson doesn't fall. He regains balance, barely, eyes glazed for a second before narrowing again like a wounded beast. He throws one final shot, a wide, desperate hook. More instinct than strategy. It misses. Murphy sidesteps, steps in, and delivers a right cross straight down the center line. Tyson drops. The cage is silent. The ref, now re-engaged, rushes in. It's over. Lerone Murphy collapses to his knees, exhausted, overwhelmed, but never broken. Tyson lies still for a beat, then slowly turns over and sits up, face swollen, but smiling. Not the smile of a man who lost. The smile of a man who found out he still had something left. The two men meet in the center, and without words, share the kind of handshake that says everything. There's no belt raised, no championship announced, but the arena feels like it witnessed something sacred. As the broadcast crew begins wrapping up, murmurs begin again. Someone backstage reportedly leaked footage of that sudden rule variation, clause being pushed by an anonymous third-party investor. Someone known only by initials. Not tied to Tyson. Not tied to Murphy. Just a shadow in the machinery. A ghost directing the chaos. Some say it was a test. Others believe it was an audition for a new era of combat sports. But one thing's certain. What was supposed to be a one-off fantasy matchup has now shifted the landscape. And both Tyson and Murphy, in their own ways, rewrote the script. Later that night, as the arena clears and the lights dim, Tyson sits alone, hands wrapped, staring at the cage. Murphy walks by, slows, and nods once before disappearing into the tunnel. And as Tyson looks up at the rafters, a faint smile crosses his face. Not because the fight's over, but because somewhere deep in the shadows, someone is already planning the next one.